we're living in close quarters. You got all these different scenarios. We've traveled across the country, and their attitudes, we didn't have one like dissension, one argument. It was just even when it got difficult and they got tired, it was such a huge win, and they kept their attitudes right, and they focused, and they worked hard. I'm telling you, moving those rocks and cleaning out some of that stuff, and I'm going to tell you a story about a bulldozer in a minute, but we played on this really bad soccer field that we helped make. But it's just an incredible trip. You can sit down. It's an incredible trip in a lot of ways. Okay, you can go back to your seats now. And so, no, I'm just oh man, but I just want to tell you, and if you're a parent and you sent a child on this trip or you participated, I'm going to tell you, they just did. It was just so outstanding, their attitudes, because when you go on a missions trip, a lot of what you do is very impromptu. You have a schedule, right? And so the best thing to do with your schedule is just throw it away when you get into the country, because nothing ever goes to order. And they just rolled with the punches and did just a phenomenal job. There's times when they had to hurry and change and get to where they had to go. Then they had to sing in front of churches, and they just hit home runs. So I'm going to let some of them share. We haven't really picked anybody out, so I'm going to let them just come up and share. But I want to start. Remy, I'm going to put you on the spot, all right? So Lindsay, coming up with you. I want you guys to, Lindsay, you don't have to share, but so this is Andrew Tiller, but we call him Remy. Here's why. He got a nickname on the trip because when he dreams, he acts out his dreams, all right? So don't get anywhere near his house. What did he do? Well, like he thought the sheet was on fire and he put him in the shower? Yeah, so he has, what is it called? Say what it's called, because this is more important than the trip.
Non-REM parasomnia.
That. So non-REM, so we just came up with Remy. So we called him Remy on the whole trip, all right? So we just, so anyway, that was kind of his highlight. But anyway, they were such a huge help. He was huge and just helped organize a lot of the things. In the second part of the week, he had to stay with some of the older guys down at another house about a mile down the road. Don't tell that story. But there were some interesting things that happened on that side, but they made it through. And then Lindsay translated for me as I talked to some of the pastors, and they were such a huge blessing. So Remy, share a little bit about your experience, and then whoever's next, get ready, all right?
All right, first of all, I want to say, just going on with Matt, what he said, these guys were great throughout this whole entire journey. A lot of people were worried, a lot of people were scared. Some parents ahead of times were really nervous. But definitely God had us in his hands, had his angels of protection around us. The minute by the time we landed in Nicaragua, you can tell that God's hand of protection was on us. And but the minute we got there, I know all the guys can attest, everybody can attest. We walk outside in that Nicaragua street, and it's a whole different world. This isn't Raleigh, this isn't Atlanta. This is downtown Managua, and it was just kind of a culture shock right there in the beginning because we weren't sure what was happening. But we all got on the bus, we got situated. And our first place in Diriamba, we were able to, everybody got set up in our rooms, and that was another thing, everybody was flexible. When some people had to sleep on air mattresses, some people had to sleep in other beds, weren't 100% sure, but throughout this whole process, it was everybody being flexible, everybody doing above and beyond what was asked of them, which was key, no dissension, we didn't have really any disciplinary problems whatsoever, which makes our jobs as leaders a lot easier. We're able to have fun as well. But one of the main key things is as we're going through these areas, as we're going through these poorer areas, we're talking to the drivers, we're talking to the people who are there in Managua, in the Diriamba, and Matagalpa. They're talking about this isn't the stuff that we saw was poor. The houses that we saw on the video, that wasn't strange for them. That was their everyday life. So for them, living in that and every day, they won't understand what it could be better. They can't really fathom it. So when we go into those houses, we're able to say, oh my goodness, look at this poverty. But in their house, this is everyday life. And so I think it was a great thing for the kids to open their eyes and see the level of poverty there is, especially there in Nicaragua. I think Haiti is the poorest country in the Western Hemisphere, and I think Nicaragua is second poorest. So we were able to see throughout our travels a lot of very, very poor areas. A lot of them didn't really have running water, a lot of them didn't have helping the local church in cleaning their buildings and sprucing up their landscape. We were able to contribute to their services, being able to sing, have specials. And I know just a few people to name, Matt, Lynn Gay, and I know Mr. Tilley. They all stepped up and they had the courage to give a sermon in English that was translated. A lot of the things that we didn't know we were going to have to do, but were done. And I'm so impressed with these kids. And just one of the things that I talked to Matt about after that trip is when you have this group behind us, that we were able to unite behind a common purpose to love God and love others, united to help the people of Nicaragua. We were really able to move mountains, literally. We have bulldozers moving mountains. We were able to open the doors and literally lay the seed for the field that was opening there in Nicaragua. And we're really excited of what's going to happen there in the future. And I really hope we can go back in the future. But we love the people. The people there were beautiful. They were very gracious, very opening. And if you haven't ever been to another country, another foreign country, especially one that is a third world and that may have poverty, I highly encourage you to, because it will open your eyes and let you see the full perspective of how blessed we are.
Lindsay, you don't have to say anything, but you can. You sure? You don't want to say, si bueno, hasta luego. Okay. All right, who else? Who's going to go next? I know it's like the first one to get up, but it's like the worst one to go first. So who wants to go first? Everybody's pointing at everyone else, right? You know I'm just going to, that's what I do. If they don't stand up, I just pick them, right? I'm like, you're up. So who's going to go first? All right, come on up. You go, man.
So this trip to me was going to the Philippines the first time. I already kind of knew the spec with the poverty and going to see other people, but Nicaragua just had a different feel for me going into a foreign country. I didn't really know what to expect, but just going in and seeing the people and seeing people's faces, a lot of people in the churches and a lot of the kids had they were really happy and really joyous and really hopeful, and that made me happy. But to look into so many people's faces outside of the church and looking at so many people's faces just down the street who had no hope, and that bothered me a lot, because I heard a lot of people say, well, everybody had so much joy and hope, and I just saw something completely different. I saw a lot of broken older men and women who just felt like there was no way out and there was no hope for anything beyond working to the bone every single day. And that really bothered me a lot. So it really motivated me to work more and more and more. And Matt already mentioned I was the first one to get sick. And it really bothered me, because Romans 8:28, I had read that devotion, and I was like, oh, okay, everything works together for God's good. That's great. That's fantastic. And I've been painting, and I felt like I was really doing God's work. I really felt like I was where I was supposed to be. I was like, man, I'm getting stuff done. I'm really engaging with the kids, playing soccer every day, working. I'm loving life. This is amazing. And that day we worked, and we moved. It was 2 tons of rock, not 3,000, but I just went out there working. And I really felt like I was in my place, and then that night I just knew I started feeling worse and worse and worse, and it came down to it. I ended up losing 13 pounds in the trip, plus a little more after. So I got down to, and that I just was crippled in the moment. I just felt horrible, and I was like, God, what is this? Why am I? Why is this happening? I thought everything worked together for your good. I thought it was in your will. I thought I was doing what you asked me to do. But then I really struggled with that part of it. I was like, what is happening? I was in your will. I was doing what I was supposed to do, God. I was really fighting for you, and I really felt like I was doing what you wanted me to do. But out of it, I didn't get to go to the dumps the first day that we went, because I had to stay home and So I was done. So but then like Sunday, I really got made impact at the dumps. I got to speak that morning in church and give my testimony, and I was like, look, I love your people, and I kind of shared the same thing. I love your people, and I really want to serve you. But earlier this week, I had to really learn the lesson that sometimes not everything's going to go your way, and Satan's going to get in the way sometimes. But you just got to overcome it. So I was really able to like give my testimony, and I was kind of nervous about it, and kind of improv a little bit, but it was just incredible just to see what God did on that trip, and to see that He brought me through. I had a rough end of the week, but I mean, I guess that just means we were doing the right thing. But I just really appreciate all my fellow students back here and what they did. I was really proud of everybody. There was no drama. There was no issues, which is amazing for a youth trip. If you spent any time with any youth kids, it's always something. So it was really impressive just to see how much everybody worked together. And I mean, this trip, honestly, I think opened doors for a lot of people, and a lot of people definitely want to go back, and myself included. Maybe not too soon. But, I definitely would like to go back to Nicaragua. I get some medicine in my system first. So.
All right, who's up next? Y'all talk way more than that when I'm speaking. I know you can share. Yeah, you can be adults, you can be youth, any of you. All right, roll up.
Okay, 3 quick things. My wife told me to go quick. So one, I like to joke with people and say, my philosophy is to work hard and play hard. But Scott Price is work hard. And it's amazing just everything that he did in planning. I mean, Matt gives me some credit, but I'm telling you that Scott is a workhorse. He doesn't know I'm doing it, but I'd like to publicly offer him a job anytime he wants it. So, number 2, this is my second trip to Nicaragua for a missions trip, and each time you go, you see more and more need. So it's amazing just the amount of need the first time, but the more you go, you see things that you didn't see the previous time. And then third, I mean, it was just amazing to get to see these kids and how they stepped up and they served. And, as leaders, you kind of step back and see how they'll step up, and boy, did they step up. And it's amazing to get to go on a mission trip with your children. And so I got to go with Emerson, and that was exciting. And I would just encourage that all of you consider a mission trip, but to go as a family as well, because I know that those that did go as a family just had a lot of great memories to bring home. So thank you.
All right, who's up next? All right, thank you, Ashley. No pressure.
Talking's a lot easier than singing, so this should be fine. But there's so much to say. That's why I didn't go up first, because I just don't want to be here for 45 minutes talking to you guys, because I totally could. But Nicaragua, it was so different than anywhere I've ever been. I've been to the Philippines and Utah, and I loved them both, and it was such an amazing experience. But my heart just connected with every single person there. Every time I made eye contact with someone, I just honestly loved them. Like, it was completely God's love pouring into me and out of me at the same time. And so, yeah, I don't know what specifically to share. Maybe just the fact that the kids there, well, I don't know if anybody else will plan to share this, but we talked about it in devotions one night. When we go to the church services, they have like maybe a keyboard, if that, and a singer. And then they have an opportunity for each person to come up and sing a solo. And so a bunch of people would just walk up and sing their own little hymn and then go and sit down, which was interesting. But just the people sang so loud, they were so passionate. When they came to church, it was a sacrifice. We come as a routine a lot of times, but it was everything to them to be in the church building. It was just, they're filled with joy to be able to worship God. And I think of like when we sing in the youth center and we're all like, barely kind of singing the words, and like even though we know them and we could be, we just don't quite have that passion that they do because it's easy for us to get here, I guess. So that was just something big to me and encouraged me to live with passion here. And then one other thing is throughout the trip, the girls, we, compared to what they live in Nicaragua, we stayed in a wonderful place, but compared to what we live in here, not so much. So we kept saying this phrase to each other to keep each other in check throughout the week, and it was like, that's not what it's about, because we would say, oh my word, there's going to be a scorpion in my shoe, and we'd be like, hey, that's not what it's about, that's not why we're here. It's not to worry about that, but it's to share with these people the love of Christ. So that I've also tried to kind of take back with me would just be to tell myself, when I'm stressed out about something or when I'm, focused on something else other than Christ, like that's not what my purpose in life is for. That's not what it's about. It's about loving Christ first and foremost, and then showing that love to other people. Yeah.
So we played a lot of soccer, which was a lot of fun because they love soccer, but they also love baseball too, but we played a lot of soccer. And so we would have a tournament on each campus, and then halfway through the championship game, we would break into a devotion and share the gospel. And so I had offered to the kids at the different churches to be able to share their testimony and to be able to share, because I love to speak, but I really wanted to, and we talked to the leaders about this, a lot of the leaders got to speak. We really wanted some of the youth to be able to speak too, because that's just such a good experience for them. But like the highlight of the week for them was having a soccer tournament, and then at halftime, sitting all the guys who came in from the local areas and sharing the gospel with them. Some of these guys are like, they're straight up serious, weren't they? They had uniforms, and one of them was a state team, or they played it was an organized team, and they played together all the time. They were like, I knew we were in trouble when they passed it 32 times before they ever shot. I was like, we're in trouble. And so I offered to them, would one of you want to share the gospel? And sharing the gospel, sharing your testimony is one thing, but sharing the gospel through a translator is a whole new ballgame, right? And when we got up north, I mentioned who wants to share, and Ashley was like, I'll share. So at halftime of the soccer game up north, she shared the gospel, and Remy, you shared it in the south, right? And it was awesome. Talk about the prodigal son, it was incredible. And anytime you speak through a translator, man, it is so difficult because you have your thought, right? And then he's got to share it, and then you have to think about your thought, and it's just awkward, right? And everybody's going, and it's just awkward. So what was that like for you? Like you wanted to do it, and you probably had one thought of what it would be like, and then you did it, and you did incredibly awesome, by the way. But then after the fact, looking back on it, was it different than what you thought it was going to be?
Well, I don't know why I said I would do it. I was like I said, yeah, I'll do it, and then I was like, did I just say that?
It could be because I said, who wants to do that, Ashley?
And then after, I was like, did I just volunteer to do that? But it was a lot of people. At first, I was kind of nervous, but thankfully, that translator was actually from the United States. So he was like, I can handle y'alls, and I can handle that. And I was like, okay, I can talk normal. I'm not worried about it. But it was awkward with pauses and stuff. It's hard to, but honestly, I prayed right before that God would just speak through me, because I knew that it wouldn't be anything I said, first of all, that would make a difference. It would be what he uses me for. And then also that I knew if I tried to get my own words in order, it would not work out. So definitely, I think it was just, God using me. I don't know what else to say.
No, because she's just such a, for me to say she did an awesome job is such an understatement. She just killed it. And so when you look at that, when I'm standing over there watching that, I don't care what she said. Obviously I wanted it to be doctrinally true, but I knew it would be. But at that point, I'm just glad she had enough courage to step up and do that, right? Because many of you be like, there's no way I'm doing that. And she did it, and she shared the gospel, and we know that the gospel never returns void. So you planted major seeds, so high five on that one. Way to go. Good job. All right, give Ashley a hand. Thank you. All right, I want one of you to get ready. I want another young person to get ready. But before you come up, I want to talk to Connor. I'm not going to make you share. I want to ask you some questions. All right, so come on up, Connor. Give Connor a hand, all right? My man, Connor. You already know what I'm going to talk about, don't you, Connor? All right, Connor, how old are you?
14.
14, all right. So, Connor, this little rivalry came up about halfway through the week. Tell us what the rivalry was about. Do you remember what it was about? I know you do.
Yeah, it was a boys versus a girls soccer game that
Right.
we play at the last camp we went to, the last field.
So we were playing soccer all week, and then we were sitting at a table. You know what? Can I just say this, by the way? We had such a good time. We had so much fun, didn't we? Just bonding and laughing and just in the spirit of Christ. We just had a fun time. So we're hanging around one night. Well, I don't know who was at the table, but one of them brought up like, you know what? We got to play like a girls against the guys soccer game. Well, man, that's all you had to say, and it was on, right? So then the smack talk, it was like, it was on. So we played a girls and guys soccer game up in the North Campus, right? And so do you remember who the referee was?
Oh, it was Remy. Remy was the referee.
Yeah, that was good. So was he fair or unfair?
He was fair.
Yeah, girls, was he fair or unfair? Yeah. So see, like it didn't end anywhere. So we play girls against the guys. It's pouring down rain. We play after the soccer tournament up north. It's pouring rain. The field we bulldozed, I'll go there in a minute, was pure clay. So it was muddy. It was slippery. I was back in the room praying for all the kids' safety. So anyway, so Connor, can you just share with everyone like who won the game, and you can don't share the part I want to share. You did really share at the end. Don't share that part yet, all right? But share the part about how do you think the game went, and then. Share who won too, all right?
So like in the beginning, we played 2 halves. It was like 8 minutes. The first half, no one really
That was the secret. I wanted you to wait, all right? So this final score was what,
scored. It was 2-0.
Okay, how many did you score?
2.
Yes. Anybody, who else in here is anybody younger than 14? How old are you? You feel okay? So I tease the girls up, but the youngest guy on the trip scored both of the goals on you girls, and it's on. That has not finished. So tell us about the first goal because we have it on video, and your reaction is so priceless. We'll have to show it sometime. So tell us about take us back, Connor, that first goal on the Nicaragua trip, right? Here, hold the mic. It's just like a real interview. You take.
All right. So it was like the beginning of the second half, and Ryan Hayward dribbled the ball and like. It went in the top right corner, and that was the first goal. And then the second goal, that was like really late in the game, like it was like a minute or 2 left. And the ball, like it was a goal kick, and the third kicked the ball towards me, and I just winged it and kicked and got it. I set the score, and that's kind of what happened.
So how did you feel when you scored that? So here's the first goal is so dramatic because Ryan throws it in like a throw-in over his head, all the way to the goal, and he heads it in with his head, right? Like the chance of that happening, pouring down rain in Nicaragua on the side of a mountain in clay that deep was extremely unlikely. So what were you thinking when you scored? Was it?
Like I was.
All right, you Connor, thank you. And it's good to have your dad with you. We had a great. You want to say anything? Are you good? You want to say anything? No, I'll tell your dad. You want to say anything? You can, yeah. Come on up, baby. Connor, come back up with and hang with him. You guys went together on the trip. I know you had a good time. Man, it was such a blessing having. I got to tell you a quick story. We were trying to buy some coffee. And you appreciate this. We're trying to buy this coffee, so we order our coffee, go eat, we come back, and the guy's like, oh, we don't have, 41 pounds of coffee. We couldn't make it in time. But we know a guy around the corner that has some. And Lynn's like, I've been here before. He's an officer. He's a police officer. He's like, I've heard that story. I got a buddy around the corner. We're gonna go because we're going into houses, right? So I got a buddy who lives around the corner. He's got some, all right. So we're walking to the house, and Lynn's like, I've oddly been here before. Like this is my life. So we walk in, and we're all gathering in the living. He goes, the stuff's in the back. And Lynn's like, this is it. This is how I live my life. The stuff's in the back. So anyway, you don't have to open with that, but you can share whatever.
Thanks, Matt. If I get long-winded, just stop me, Matt. No, Matt would be somebody else stop me if I get long-winded. I just want to say what an awesome opportunity. If you have a child up here, just know that you've done some really good things. I mean, it's so overwhelming to see youth like this in a foreign country. And they don't have the comforts of home. And everyone is just so amazing. They eat the food, they don't complain, they sleep wherever, but then they love on the children and the people there. And at the end of the day, it's about showing Christ. It's about the gospel. We're a mission-hearted church, right, Mick? Instead of minded. I'll correct them later. We'll that's another class. We'll do that class later, Mick. You and I will. But what a fantastic time. And just know this. What they did over there was worth it. It was worth the fundraising. It was worth the money you gave. They made an impact. So.
Missions hearted. All right. So let's just do this. I'm going to show a video here in a minute. I want to do one more youth and one more adult. All right. So let's do a youth right now. No, let's do an adult, and then we'll do a young person. All right. What adult we want to share? Yeah. But David, come up. Scott, come up. Scott, the one that you're planning to do this trip, I want you to be able to share. David, no dancing. Just come up and speak. All right. No dancing. Just come up and speak. We know you like to dance. We're not going to say much about that. Pam, come on up with him. You guys share, and then Scott share after them, and then when that's over, we'll have one more young person share.
I just recruited her, and now she's upset with me. I kind of gave this thing a lot of thought, and it was, when we were over there, we were so busy. It was kind of really hard to kind of process everything. And it started hitting me the next morning when we got back. I had to go to work, and I was riding in my car driving to Durham, and I just busted out crying. I didn't know why. And all these thoughts started flooding back in my head, and I thought, when I get to work, please don't let me cry, Lord. And got to work, my boss saw me, hey, how was the trip? But let me say this. The youth here represented this church well, and they really did. So did the adults. But one thing I think that probably struck me more than anything else when we went to the dump to feed the people. And I was standing in a line, I thank God he put me there, and we were feeding people out of, looked like half of a trash can. It was all clean, but flies were everywhere. And we're giving people, these kids, and they were coming through the line multiple times, and they were taking the food back to their parents. We didn't want to say anything about it, but we were scooping food in it, and flies everywhere. And I'm thinking, would I eat this? These people were thankful to get it. And then we all jump in a bus, a nice air-conditioned bus, and we start driving to a coffee plantation to eat chicken and steak. And I felt so bad. I looked over at Pam and she was bawling. And it made me feel ashamed because I can't speak for everybody else, but I realized how spoiled I am. We go to these churches and these people are walking to church, and it's hot. This big boy was sweating in church, I'm telling you that right now. I wore a Columbia shirt, thought that I would keep me from sweating. It looked like somebody dumped a bucket of water on me, but it just made me realize how blessed we are as a people, and we don't even appreciate it. And it made me appreciate what we've got so much more in the country that we've got. And we go to a church, and there's dirt floors, there's sewage everywhere. And while they're speaking, our youth, it's kind of a two-tiered church, it's dirt floor, and then it's a little step down, they have a youth down here. And I was sitting there watching our youth interacting with these kids. And that just blessed my heart. It really did. Seeing these kids play with our youth play with these kids. And but anyway, I said enough. I'm gonna say something. I said enough. Thank you.
Yeah, real quick. I just wanted to share. I don't know how much you're going to get into it, but we actually ministered while we're there, and the whole week, predominantly, what we would do, we go in the morning and do some service work around the churches, painted and cleaned up and worked. And then in the afternoon, so we go back, eat lunch, change, and come back and then do a service. And throughout the whole thing, it's where we talk about. So that's why it's such a big deal when we say there's no complaining, no bickering. It was just get up, get it done, and we didn't speak the language. I didn't speak the language. Lindsay did. She kept me out of trouble, I think. Not real sure all the time. But just being able to go in and live your heart, you know, mission hearted, to live your heart so that they could see Christ living through you was a big deal. And they could see it in all of our kids. I mean, we stuck out, right? We were light-skinned, we were different. But they looked at us and they could tell the difference, and I think that's a blessing. And I thank you as a church for supporting us in prayer, for supporting us in getting there. We took 38 teams, 38 people down, which is huge. Every place we went, we overwhelmed them. But they were so gracious, and they really took care of us. And I thank Ken and Peggy. Okay. Ken and Peggy were great. They helped us. So it was all a blessing. I thank you all again. Turn it over.
I want to say something, then I'm going to show you a video, and then I'm going to see if one more youth wants to share, then I'll close with the story, and then we'll be done. Pastor, you know, when we travel like that as a church, one of the things we want to do is really bless the people over there that are serving us, like the chefs and the pastors. And so, man, you guys just loved on them so much. The cooks at each location, we did the dishes every night for them, and just tried to love on them, because you know what, their living is so much different than ours. We're so blessed. And not that I want to not be blessed. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying you want to be able to unconditionally love when you get over there. So we loved on them, and they loved us, like the cooks at I guess it was the South Campus. We did a high five line. I had them run through the high five line, and they had no clue, right? They loved that so much that we ate dinner or lunch the next day, and they showed up at lunch just to hang out with us. And that was huge, and they loved on not just the people that lived in Nicaragua, but the people that were over there serving. And that's a big deal, because they're on the front lines, and they're serving, and it's not easy, all right? So I'm going to show you, we cut about 8 or 9, maybe not that many, maybe 4 or 5 videos in the airport in Atlanta when we got back. We don't have time to show you all of them. Maybe we'll post them, and you could look at them. But here's one of the videos. We can show that now. Here's one of the videos we did in the airport. This was after we got back from Atlanta. We're about to fly back to Raleigh. We're like hardly any sleep, so here's just one kind of an interview-ish type video. Hey guys, we're in the Atlanta airport on the last leg of our flight. All of our team is kind of laid out over here. Some are sleeping, some are playing games. Phenomenal trip. I got Rebecca and Jennifer here. We're going to share just a minute about our trip. Let's start with Jennifer. Jennifer, what would be a moment that stuck out to you, like a most memorable moment? I know there were many of them, but pick one and kind of share with me.
My most memorable moment, we were heading up to Matagalpa in the mountains, and I was looking out the window. We were listening to Christian music on the bus, and I looked over at one of our translators, Steven, and he was just jamming out. He was like singing as loud as he could, and he was having a time of his life. And it was a song in English, and I know he's a translator, but it like really got to me, because it was nice, like thinking we're from different countries, we're from different areas, we've grown up in different ways, but he's still sitting there singing his heart out. And it was nice, and I looked out at the mountains, and it was great to see all the things that God had done.
I know we got a little background noise here as they're announcing our flight, so we'll try to talk a little bit loudly. Rebecca has lost her voice, mostly. In a lot of our services, they would split the kids and the adults, and Rebecca did a lot of teaching with the kids. So talk about that for a minute, Rebecca, and talk about anything else you want to share about this trip.
So a lot of the time we would split the kids up, and we would usually do like a Bible story, something really simple that they could understand, like Jonah, or we did Daniel and the Lion's Den. Enjoyed it. They, even if it was in English, they were still get into it, dance, sing as much as they could. And then we would do a craft, something like coloring or doing some games, something like that. So they really enjoyed it. And it's just really, it was amazing to me how they could be so happy in the conditions that they're in. And this one girl, we were giving out candy bags, and she took out a piece of candy and handed it to me. I was like, no, that's for you. She was like, no, but I want to give it to you. And it's really amazing how selfless and they can be in the conditions that they're in.
They had so much energy when they would go engage with the kids. They were just wanting to jump on their backs and touch them. They don't ever get that. I mean, it was so amazing to watch them play. They had to play for 3 or 4 hours, so
Anyway, it's been a great trip, and there's been a unifying trip too, not just from our team, but from the translators that were over there with us and the people on the ground. Incredibly unifying. So it's been a great trip. So thank you guys for your support, and thanks Jennifer and Rebecca and their families for supporting us as we had an awesome trip. God bless you guys.
All right. Anybody else? I'm gonna close with a story. Anybody else want to share? I don't leave anybody out that wants to share anything. Maddie, you were really talking about you had something is that true or not? That was not true. Oh, I'm sorry. All right. Anybody else before we go? Before I share, I close out. All right, if you change your mind, just jump up here, okay? Kim McCoy, who obviously started Project 14 and the focus on Nicaragua, he called me about 3 or 4 days after the trip, Pastor. I was in my garage. Well, no, I wasn't in my garage, because that would imply that I'm working in my garage. That does not happen. And so I went into the garage because to get away from the 300 children in my house to hear him. So he calls me, "You got a second?" I said, "Yes." I go in the garage. He said, "Did I see a bulldozer on Facebook?" And I thought, oh man. So I'm explaining to him the story. And I don't know, like, if he's happy, because we didn't really call anybody to talk about this. We just did it, which is why I'm going to tell you the story. And so I'm sharing the story with Ken, and he's not like, he's in his car on the speakerphone with Peggy. And you know when you share with somebody and you're looking at them, or you're talking to them and you're sharing, they're going, yeah, oh wow, yeah. And I couldn't hear anything on the other end. I didn't know if he was like pulled off the road and getting his shotgun loaded. I didn't know. And so what happened was when we got to the North Campus, we were going to work on this soccer field, but Rolo and I found a picture online of the soccer field. It was beautiful. I mean, like, just flat and level. And Rolo, he called me one day. He's like, "Hey, the work up north is done." I was like, "Well, great. We'll just finish making the goals and do the tournament." So we get to the North Campus and we're going down to the soccer field, and it is not what was online. And we found out that the picture we saw was from like 3 years earlier. It was a picture they took when they first bought the campus. And the soccer field was just like overgrown. I mean, weeds and cobras and everything all over the field. And so I'm thinking, man, we can't play on this. So when we walked back, I just said, "Bro, let's what are we gonna do with this?" He said, "Man, I don't know." So Pablo came up and said, "Pablo, do you know anybody like that has a big equipment? And what if we?" And in my mind, and there's a part of you that you're thinking about this, and you're not thinking it will ever be a reality. I'm like, what if we got someone to come in here and like bring a bulldozer in and just like level it out and make it wider, make it longer, and bless the campus and bless Project 14? And in my mind, I don't even know if they have bulldozers in Nicaragua. Like, I don't like, do they have that? I'm thinking of like a little bobcat. And so anyway, he's like, "Well, let me make a phone call." Well, he makes a couple phone calls. And he comes back. He says, "Yeah." He said, "No, how are we going to do this?" And that's when Rolo stepped up and said, "You know what? You take care of it. We'll handle everything else from how to pay for it and all that. You just take care of it." So I was like, there's a part of me that was really excited about that. Right? We're gonna this is so cool. Until the next morning at like 9:30 or 10, when I'm over pulling weeds at where the orphanage, that building they bought, and I hear this, and I look over, and here comes this, like the biggest bulldozers I've ever seen in my life, coming up the side of a mountain. And I was like, what have I done? And in those moments where you just really second guess yourself, I mean, he's bringing it down up, it's a dirt road, so he's coming up the road, and it's like think of the biggest one you've seen. It was huge. It's not a little bobcat that, only one person. It was like huge. And so he comes up, and I'm thinking, so then we get him down to the field, and he makes that first cut, and I'm just like, oh, Lord. And he starts clearing land. And how long was he there? 4 hours? I mean, we got footage of it for another time. But he clears the soccer field out, and he keeps going lower and lower, and he's just like clearing just massive amounts of dirt. And all the while I'm thinking, I really hope this works, and this is a good idea. So then we finish. He gets done. It's leveled. It's beautiful. It's larger. And so we're having the soccer tournament later that day, and Remy tells me that one of the guys, because Remy knows some Spanish, he comes up and he says, what did he say?
He said, "That is the ugliest field I've ever seen."
Yeah, he said, "That is the ugliest field I've ever been on and played." So we murdered him. But anyway, so once we got it leveled out, I mean, it really was beautiful. And my thought was, and I can see this as a soccer complex for Project 14. You could put lights up, and you can get in the corner, make a baseball field out of it. And when we got done, there was one section on the left side of the field, right where Connor scored, where if you stepped on it, you'd sink down about 6 or 8 inches. I mean, it was like quicksand. But my thought was, that we can come back and lay soil. And so when I was explaining this to Ken on the phone in my garage, I'm like, and I'm sharing this story with him, and I get done, and he said, "Well, what spurred that on?" And I was like, I just we just saw it and we thought we could do it. He said, man, that is so awesome. I said, then we can go back and, that was phase one. When I realized that it was clayish and that it was slippery and that we could die on it possibly, I thought, well, we're going to call this phase one. Phase two is soil, and the phase three is like adding some sitting areas for everyone. And it was a beautiful thing. And so for me, outside of watching them work, outside of your faith, and sending them and praying for them and supporting them, and our pastor leading our church, and Steve and Glenda kind of leading us. By the way, Glenda, it was really cool when we got to the airport, what airport we fly out of Atlanta, and they got those little gift cards, like a little note from Miss Glenda that said, have a great trip, all cursive writing, opened up, and there was $20 in for each person, right? Like, that was the highlight of the beginning flying out, so thank you, Miss Glenda. And but one of the things I learned was this, when God puts something on your heart, you're not going to know how it's going to turn out. You don't know all the answers. Just step out in faith. And I remember when that bulldozer was coming up that mountain, it freaked me out a little bit. I thought, man, I hope I really haven't messed this up. And I hope I don't offend the neighbors or ruin their, then I thought, what am I thinking? Like ruin this dirt road. We're not going to break it. And so, but it ended up being a beautiful thing. And the field is just perfectly set now to put soil on, plant some sod, some grass on it. And they are stoked about that. Talking about putting a basketball court beside it. Yeah, there's a picture of the dozer that is really big. That's a big dozer to me. It may not be to you, but I was expecting something a little bit smaller. So it was just a really, really big deal for us. And I learned just about stepping out of faith. And when God prompts you to do something, you don't always know how it's going to work out. You don't always know why it's going to work out. You don't always know what it's going to look like. You just step out and do it. And it was just a huge blessing to our team and to the people over there. And eventually when we get it done, it's going to be a beautiful sight. Here's what I envision, then we'll be done. I envision that soccer field with grass on it, with lights. And you can see some of that mountain from down in the valley of that city. And I imagine the people looking up there saying, that's where the soccer complex is. So that we can bring the community up there to play soccer, so that we can do what with them? So we can share the gospel with them. So why not do it well? Why not do it with excellence? Why not make it the best soccer field that they have so the whole community is drawn to that? Because we're not giving them a soccer field. We're giving them Jesus. And that's the whole core of everything that this church is about, the whole core of everything that they were about. So would you do me a favor one more time and just give them just another round of applause for just their faithfulness and their hard work? And we're going to close with this. Robbie, is Robbie up there, or is Robbie, where is Robbie? Robbie, come up here. I know you're going to throw some at me later. Just come down and just make your way up here sometime tonight, right? Yes, sir.
I just got a text from Peggy McCoy.
Okay.
And her and Ken are in Vegas. And what they did, they went there to take all the money they had, and we're either going to really blow it out and start from scratch.
Amen. We're all in.
They're watching it on live stream.
Awesome.
And they just wanted me to tell the kids and you and all the adults how much they love and appreciate what you did.
Awesome. Give them a hand. Thank you, Ken and Peg. We love you guys so much. Put it on number 22. Number 22, all right? Robbie, come on up here, man. We're going to show a video. So this is another cool part of the trip that most of you don't know about. So Robbie spent the summer, give Robbie a hand, all right? He spent the summer in the Philippines. I've been working with Robbie some on the techie part of our videos and stuff, and he's really growing. And I don't like you behind me, so I'm going to stand back with you. So Robbie was in the Philippines. He did an internship in the Philippines. And then he asked me before he flew out the Philippines, he's like, you're going to Nicaragua. Could I go to Nicaragua? I'm like, I don't know, you're going to be in another part of the whole world. And he's like, well, what if I flew in and met you in Atlanta, and then flew to Nicaragua, and then when I got done with Nicaragua, I could fly back to Atlanta with you, and then from Atlanta, I could go back to the Philippines. And in my mind, I'm thinking, you're absolutely insane. But that's what he did. He interned in the Philippines, flew to Atlanta, met us in Atlanta with our team, flew out from Atlanta to Nicaragua, served all week, flew back to Atlanta, from there flew back to Philippines, and just a phenomenal story. So he hasn't really gotten to share about his trip to the Philippines. We're going to show a video, but before we do, Robbie, just give us 30 seconds. I know it's a little bit later. Give us 30 seconds about your Philippines trip and that, and then we're going to show the video. When that video goes off, you are dismissed. Unless, Sean, you got to say anything else? One more. Okay, Sean will come up after the video's off. So, Robbie, share a little bit about that. Then we're going to show the video. Then Sean's going to come up and close us out.
Let me start by saying, if Matt disappears, you know who's done it, because I was not expecting to be up here. It was really a great experience to be able to travel to the Philippines, but also to be able to join the team in Nicaragua for a week, and it was great to get to see everybody, that I hadn't seen in 2 months. So part of what I did in the Philippines and in Nicaragua kind of was similar because I was working with the media team doing photography, videography in the Philippines. And also in Nicaragua, I was working with Sean and taking some of the pictures that you saw and things like that. So I got to do some very similar things, but there were also, we didn't do a whole lot in the Philippines with some of like the going out to the dumps and working with the children and at the feeding centers and things like that. So it was a really great experience to get to do both of those things. Pretty sure I talked about all this in the video, so let's go ahead and show that. How do I start this? What am I doing? Hello, for those of you who don't know me, my name is Robbie Kofer, and I spent approximately 9 weeks in the Philippines this past summer working with a ministry called Global Surge. It was founded about 20 years ago by a man named Dr. Greg Lyons, and his family has taken this ministry from a very small single church organization to now they have over 30 churches in Asia. And it was a really great privilege to be able to work with them. And my focus while I was there was working with the media team of about maybe 6 people that do all of the graphics, video production, creating the lessons and everything for all of these churches. And it was a really great experience to be able to work with them. One of the many people that I met while I was in the Philippines was the woman who greets everyone at the front door of CBC Pasig in the Philippines. And she was very nice. Everybody loved her. Everybody on our team, she was one of their favorite people. And she just really stands out to me because she was always so happy. And one Saturday during Kids Jam, we went to an area near where her home was, and we saw her there out front, and she invited a couple of us into her home. We had to walk through this little back alley and turn sideways to fit through for some of us larger people. And when we got back there, it was really just this small shack. I probably could have stuck my arms out and touched each side of it. 4 people lived there, and all they had was this plywood bed on cinder blocks and a little fan in the corner. And to me, that seems like extreme poverty, and it is, but to them, this is their normal way of living. Like, they don't feel like they're missing out on anything. And they're very happy people. Everyone that I met in the Philippines was very happy. The amount of poverty in the Philippines was just heartbreaking. So after I spent a few weeks in the Philippines, I was able to meet up with the youth team from Faith Baptist Church in Nicaragua. We got to do some awesome things, work with some amazing people. We worked at a couple of different churches, feeding children. We performed a couple of skits with our drama team. We got to do some construction work and some painting. And really, it was also just a bonding time between this team here. I'd like to thank everyone here at Faith Baptist Church who supported me leading up to this trip, both financially and prayerfully. I couldn't have done it without you guys, especially Pastor Mick Bowen and Pastor Matt Pettit. Throughout this journey, the Lord really opened my eyes to some things that I had never experienced before, and I'm really looking forward to having the opportunity to go back next year.